morning and welcome to a Recruits Who Didn't Choose Ohio State this past week edition of the OHIO podcast. Do us a big favor, go ahead and smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Thank you to so many who have done that in the past week. We really do appreciate all of you new subscribers, and we appreciate all of you old subscribers. And here's the thing, about 70% of you who watch these videos aren't even subscribed. Be a good dude or lady. Hit that subscribe button. Become a part of our community. If you want to, ring the bell. Get notified every time we drop new content on your lap here at YouTube. Leave us a comment down in the comment section below. If you need to get a hold of us for whatever reason, you can email the show at theohiopodcast@gmail.com. All right, let's get into it. I have 8 recruits who committed to their school of choice last week. All 8 of these kids had Ohio State offers, and all 8 chose to go to other schools. Some of them Ohio State was in on a little bit more than others. We'll explain that as we go through the video. Some of them are going to mean a little bit more than others as well, depending on who's already committed and how many we have at those positions. So without any further ado, let's just get into it, shall we? We talked about Gabriel Osborne Jr. in a video not that long ago. A big time cornerback from the state of Oklahoma, from Mustang, Oklahoma to be exact. 6'2 and a half, 180 pounds. He is a top 50 recruit. 247 Sports believes he is a 5-star. They have him at number 25 in the nation, 4th at cornerback in the country, 2nd from the state of Oklahoma. And he's deciding to stay at home and play for the home state Sooners. This was always going to be an uphill battle for Ohio State to pluck him out of the state of Oklahoma. So I'm not surprised about this one, but this is kind of a big deal because he was one of, if not the best corner in the country. And so the fact that he decides to stay at home is big time for the Sooners and kind of a miss for Ohio State. This is, if you want to look at the list of the 8 guys I'm bringing to you, to me, this is the top kid out of all of them. Not just based off ranking, but based off of how Ohio State was kind of wanting him, pursuing him in the old recruiting recruitosphere, if you will. So Gabriel Osborne is going to be a Sooner, and he chooses to not be a Buckeye. We wish him good luck. He seems to be like a good kid. Now this one, here we go again. I mean, it feels like it's about every 5 to 6 days, another tight end who we offered doesn't really give Ohio State a sniff. Parker Newman from Tennessee decides he's going to go and play his college ball in North Carolina for the Duke Blue Devils. Now, remember, I gave you guys 2 tight end names from the state of Tennessee who possibly Ohio State could be in on because they had offered. Parker Newman was one of those names that we kind of were in on. The other one was Colton Johnson from Baxter, Tennessee. He's still available. This Tennessee recruit or the tight end recruiting thing is becoming kind of a giant question mark head scratcher for Ohio State fans to wrap their noggins around here. How we cannot land any tight ends in this class so far, or even come closer, or even bringing them in for official visits, even when they live within 25 miles of Ohio Stadium, is beyond me at this point. I've tried to justify this by saying Ohio State isn't offering large sums of NIL to these tight ends. I believe that to be true. They look at the tight end position as a developmental position, which is obviously. And they also look at it, if we're going to spend that kind of money, we might as well get someone out of the portal who's more developed physically. I get it. I understand that. But the fact that they haven't even got one Ohio kid, even if he's a low 3-star, is just kind of a head scratcher to me. you're going to need bodies in the room, okay? So this one feels like a little bit of a body blow, to be honest with you here. That Parker Newman didn't even really whatever. I got that Ohio State offer, yippee. I'd rather go play for Duke. Okay. I mean, I guess Duke is a really good academic school. I don't guess, I know. It's a really good academic school. Maybe that's what this is all about. But yeah, we miss on Parker Newman as well. So someone else we talked about, off the board. Database updated. All right, here we go. Number 3, Miles Smith, committed to Indiana. Now, Miles Smith is a 6'5", 215-pound defensive end from Farmington, Michigan. Farmington, Michigan. And he decides he's going to go play in Indiana. So, interesting choice. He's a borderline top 250 recruit, borderline top 25 defensive end. He's a top 10 kid from the state of Michigan, and he chooses Indiana over Michigan, who, by the way, he played at Farmington. It's only 28 miles from Ann Arbor. So this is a kid who grew up in the shadows of the big outhouse, and he's going to go play for Indiana. So is Curt Cignetti making a huge impact in the Midwest in recruiting when it comes to Ohio and Michigan and Indiana? Oh, you betcha he is. Is it anywhere as good as Michigan and Ohio State? Not yet. But look, he did a whole lot more with a whole lot less. Now, granted, a lot of them were transfers. I get it. The recruiting classes in Indiana have always been god awful. They're not god awful anymore. They're getting kind of pretty. They're getting better. They're getting much better. And this is one of those guys, Miles Smith, who's choosing to travel 284 miles away from home as opposed to just driving across town 28 miles to Ann Arbor to play for the Wolverines. So there you go. Miles Smith. Ohio State offered. They were never really in it, to be honest with you. But I appreciate this one. And by the way, I don't know that we would really want them, to be honest with you, just based off of who we already have in the class. But Miles Smith going to Indiana is interesting to me. That's why I threw that one in here as well. All right. Alabama gets Nigel Newkirk. He was one of the running backs that we broke down when we did a running back video not that long ago. Again, Ohio State fans, don't sweat this one. We're in really good with David Gabriel George. A lot of experts feel like we hit a home run on that visit and that it's only a matter of time. But Nigel Newkirk was the Gainesville, Georgia running back, 5'11", 200 pounds. And according to 247 Sports, which we will use as the ranking here, according to the composite, he's a top 250 player in the nation. He's a top 20 running back, and he's a top 25 recruit from the state of Georgia, according to the composite. So Alabama gets their running back here. LSU was in on him. Ohio State was in on him. Michigan was in on him. He ends up going to Alabama. And he committed actually 2 days ago on the 31st, which was Sunday. So Nigel picks to be Bama. Now, if you go and you read the Bama boards, okay, you're going to see a fan base that's divided here. A lot of them are going to put on their Crimson Tide glasses and they're going to look at Nigel and they're going to say, great pickup, awesome. He's going to be a great he's going to develop great in this system, going to be an awesome running back. Others are saying, if this is our running back, he's nowhere near as good as the running backs that Nick Saban recruited. And there lies the problem right now. When it comes to Alabama, are they still recruiting really good? Oh yeah, you betcha. You betcha. They're just not doing they're not used to this level playing field, a little bit more of an even ground down south. They're not used to not getting the top running back, the top wide receivers, the top tight ends, the top offensive linemen, and one of the top quarterbacks in the country. They're just not used to that. And so some of them look at this pickup of Nigel Newkirk and they're like, Saban would have done better. Literally, that's what you're hearing on some of their sites. So I found that one incredibly interesting. But Ohio State offered. He never took an official visit. He decides he's going to go ahead and go to Alabama. Speaking of the South, Miguel Whitley, wide receiver who Ohio State offered, he committed to Ole Miss. Now, this is a New Orleans kid. This was somebody who Hankton was recruiting while at LSU. There in his backyard in New Orleans, he went to St. Augustine High School, 6 foot, 180 pounds. We thought this was an interesting offer because hey, maybe there's ties there to Hankton. In the end, Whitley wanted to stay in the South, and he goes from LSU to Ole Miss, which is incredibly interesting. If you understand the dynamic of what that means, going from the state of Louisiana to Ole Miss, who right now there is a giant Southern war between Ole Miss and LSU going on right now, and this one is very interesting. Ole Miss people are celebrating this like it's the Mississippi Mardi Gras. Okay, this is this is really really interesting that Whitley is going to go to Ole Miss, and it's kind of funny to be quite honest with you. And I'm here for it. I love it. I love those type of things. All right, we're going to stay in the South with another one. This is another wide receiver who Ohio State was after. Torian Rollins, big time wide receiver from Atlanta, Georgia, Mount Vernon Presbyterian. He was offered kind of late here by Ohio State, another 6 foot, 175 pound kid. But he ends up going to Georgia, staying there in the state of Georgia. Played at Mount Vernon, played at Mount Vernon for the Mustangs there. 88-37 on his rivals ranking, top 500 kid, was ranked 64th at wide receiver. So I'm not so sure how much Ohio State went after him, but according to the On3 Rivals site, Georgia had the largest percentage to get him, and the next closest was Ohio State. So the fact that he committed this past week kind of was interesting in that regard, because this was someone who Ohio State was going after, and we were following this recruitment like, let's see what happens here in his senior year. Maybe he camps at Ohio State and he ends up falling in love with the university and the college and wanting to be developed and be a Buckeye. Not the case. He's going to go ahead, stay home, and commit to Georgia. Now, again, not a super high star ranking, but someone who kind of hit the rankings a little bit later here and garnered some love from some universities and colleges. So that ranking might change, especially now that he's committed to Georgia. He might get a bump, right? All right, I got two more for you. We're going to keep the train rolling. Carter Jones, an interior offensive lineman, he committed to Clemson this past week as well. Big boy, 6'5.5", 291 pounds from Virginia. And he decided he wanted to stay close to home and go to Clemson. He's a borderline top 400 kid, top 30 in the interior offensive line rankings, and was the 11th highest ranked recruit from the state of Virginia. Clemson, Penn State, Tennessee were the top three going into his commitment, and so he's going to go ahead and be a Clemson Tiger. So another offensive lineman comes off the board. Not surprised. I'm not so sure how much Ohio State was really going after him. When we have so many offensive linemen already committed, especially so many who are ranked higher than he is. So Ohio State offered, but I don't think it ever really went anywhere. And same here with Bryson Brown, a safety from Oklahoma. So yes, Gabriel Osborne Jr. was the top corner from the state of Oklahoma. Bryson, the top safety from the state of Oklahoma, 5'10 and a half and 175 pounds from Broken Arrow High School, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. And he's going to go to the other school in Oklahoma, the other OSU, if you will, Oklahoma State. is where he ends up. Again, someone who received an Ohio State offer, don't know how serious it really was. This one came down to Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, and the Cowboys went out, which, by the way, was the closest school to Broken Arrow of those three. So he's going to be staying close to home, or closer to home, I should say. So there is that. So those were your 8 commitments this past week of Ohio State kids who had Ohio State offers. And the schools they chose. So you can take them off. They've already been adjusted on the database. If you are a member of the OHIO podcast and a part of the NRO over on our Patreon, you already knew this. You already saw the update happen on the database. But if you're not, you can get this information as well by coming and being a part of our community over on Patreon. It only costs $5 a month. One of the cheapest in the business to get articles, insider information, message boards, the super secret show, Sunday through Wednesday, all of it for just $5 a month. You should obviously consider that link in the description below. Your scripture verse for today, 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7, one of my favorites. For we walk by faith, not by sight. If you are a believer, you know exactly what that means. Have a great Tuesday, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We will be back tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern, for a live show right here on the OHIO Podcast YouTube channel, followed by the Super Secret Show over on Patreon at 9 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you're hanging around for that and consider being a Patreon member and a part of the NRO so you too can be a part of this great community. We'll have more content for you just like this video in the near future right here on the OHIO podcast. If you haven't already, smash that like button. Please consider subscribing. Have a great day and go Bucks.